What's up, Fnaf fans? Ivan here, and welcome to Fnaf Security Breach Ruin lore video. So, guys, today this video is going to be our lore video on Fnaf Ruin. And there's only one thing to talk about in the lore of this, really, and it literally all has to do with the Mimic. All this has to do with the Mimic. So, let's start with the basics. Or not really the basics, but you know what I mean. So, who is the Mimic? Well, I don't. So, you guys are probably going to be very confused about this. Because now the storyline has changed dramatically. Just by adding the Mimic in there, the storyline of Fnaf has changed. And it will forever be changed. So, it's gonna sound weird. And it may sound to you guys completely wrong. But I am telling you, this is the truth, okay? This is the truth. So, the Mimic. Who is he? He is the very first animatronic or endoskeleton to ever be made. The very, very first animatronic. And not even animatronic, endoskeleton. To ever be made. He was the first endoskeleton to ever be made. And also, not only that, but the Mimic is where everything started. It's how Fnaf started. Literally, guys, the Mimic is the origins of Fnaf. Literally, the Mimic is the origin of Fnaf. It all goes back to the Mimic. And I'm gonna tell you guys why, okay? So, the main storyline, right? If we don't add the Mimic in there, the storyline goes back to the 80s, right? You know, like 1983, right? 1987 and all that. But here's the thing, okay? When you add the Mimic into the mix, that goes back to like the early to late 70s. Like in like I think it was 1970, I don't know. But it was sometime around the early or late 70s. I don't remember the exact date, but it's sometime around there. Which puts that literally before the Fnaf timeline. That literally puts it before the Fnaf timeline. Now that they're making the Mimic canon, in the Fnaf universe and in the Fnaf timeline, that puts Mimic at the origin of Fnaf, which is crazy. Literally, Mimic is the start of all of it. All of Fnaf. Which is crazy. Yeah, so he was an endoskeleton. He was basically, so now that we've covered that, on to the next thing about the Mimic. So, how do you know about the Mimic, Ivan? How do you know about the Mimic? So, you guys will have to read the books. Like I said, the Mimic is from the books, and literally, I think the story is just called Mimic. I think it's literally this. I think the story is literally just called Mimic. It's in the bunny one or whatever. Fazbear Frights. I'm pretty sure it's a Fazbear Frights one. Don't really remember. I don't think it is. No, I think it's Tales of the Pizzaplex. Yeah, it's another Tales of the Pizzaplex one. So you guys can check those out. I would highly recommend to read all of them. because I have basically read all of them, so I know everything about the books. So just seeing the mimic pop up in the game though, in Fnaf Ruin, that shocked me. You know, I did not think they would actually put him in the Fnaf timeline. I did not even think that they would do that, but they did, and now I'm shocked. Like, where are they gonna go with this now? Where are they gonna go with Fnaf now? Like, literally, the mimic changes everything about how we see Fnaf now. It literally is gonna change our perspective on what Fnaf even means now. Like, really. Fnaf has just changed drastically. Yeah, Jesus, man. But anyway, yeah, so he was the first endoskeleton to ever be built. Um, yeah. Which kind of also makes him the strongest, too. Yeah, because the fact, he was basically designed to mimic accurately, to mimic accurately, for David. Okay, there's a little boy in the books named David, and the father decides to make this animatronic that can mimic what little David is doing, so that way, you know, he can do his work, right? So he doesn't have to worry about, you know, constantly trying to do stuff himself that wastes his time with his son, you know. So he wants something else to play with David, because the father doesn't have time to play with his kid. You know, he's got to work. So in turn, he builds an animatronic or endoskeleton to accurately mimic everything that David does. So little David can enjoy himself and, you know, how well time he needs. But later on in the book, something happens. I'm not gonna say what because I don't want to spoil anything else. But I'll just leave it at that. Okay. And another thing too is in the books there's all these costumes, right? Because the mimic, right? He likes to mimic things, right? In the story, right? In the book, he really likes, the mimic really likes to mimic things. So he takes the form of, this, like, lion suit or whatever. And he basically kills these guys that come into this old place. And yeah, so I think I'm gonna cut it right there. Basically, guys, the basic thing that you guys just have to know about the mimic is that he can shapeshift. He can shapeshift into a costume, or he can wear. He basically wears all of these mascot suits and tries to mimic them, and mimics them. Basically mimics the, you know what I'm trying to say, right? He wears these animal-like costumes, and he uses them to kill. And he can just mimic anything accurately. Very, very accurately. And yeah, that's basically all you guys need to know about the Mimic. That's everything you need to know about the Mimic. He is a very interesting character. I will say that, guys, about the Mimic is he's a very, very interesting character. Yeah, and the fact that they added him into the storyline of Fnaf, I didn't think they would do that. So, and now that they're making an Into the Pit game too, I'm starting to see what Click Team and Scott are doing. They're trying to put in Fnaf characters from the Fnaf books into the timeline of Fnaf, which honestly I like that idea. You know, adding all the Faster Frights book characters into the actual Fnaf games. Dude, I want them to keep on doing that, man, because I love the book. I love the books. They are so good. And the fact that I think this is what they're doing. They're adding characters from the books into the Fnaf games. If they keep on doing that, man, Fnaf is gonna become. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. But anyway, I think this is where I'm gonna go ahead and leave the episode. Yeah. Now, before I do my outro, guys, I just checked to see if Five Laps at Freddy's is out. And it's not yet. It's gonna come out in a few hours, guys. Five Laps at Freddy's is gonna be coming out in a few hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and upload this, and then I will see you guys in a few hours to play 5 Laps at Freddy's. I'll see you then to play that. And we might also do a live stream later today also after doing a video. I don't know. A video on it. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, man. This was everything that you needed to know about the Mimic from the books and in the game. And I hope this was educational, and I hope you enjoyed. So yeah, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this educational video. If you guys did, make sure you guys all like, subscribe, comment, share, post, and also that post notification bell so that way you guys get notified whenever I upload any of my videos. And as always, guys, I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.